Good afternoon and welcome to the final Kerry Garden Show of the season. Alan Finn here with you again one last time this year in the Boyles Garden Centre with, of course, our gardening expert Trish. How are we doing, Trish?
I'm very good, very good. As you say, the last show.
So
I'm going to give you loads of work now to do over the winter.
Well, that's it. Look, the garden, we've given you as much colour as we possibly could, trying to brighten things up. Now we're going to talk about a little feathered friends and also some maintenance tips as well too to get you over the winter.
Yeah. Like now this time of the year, it's important to be looking after, as you say, our feathered friends, the birds like in the garden. I know we've gone through the trees and the shrubs that will help, you know, obviously the red berries and the seed heads then from perennials and stuff. But if you just want to give that little bit extra to encourage the smaller birds into your garden, because like they're absolutely fabulous to have around and it's just nice to have them.
And I guess it's one of those things that as you notice across the year or across the season, if you see a lot of action kind of coming in and out, it just adds that extra little bit. You're like going, oh look, there's a red breast or there's
it's nice to have them around, and they're good for your garden as well. Birds don't come in, obviously you're feeding them, like they can eat the slugs, they can eat little insects or anything that's around. Like sometimes you might have leather jackets and things that you might have grown potatoes, and you obviously don't want them next year. The birds will root them out of it. Like if you loosen up your soil and they're kind of coming to the top, the birds will swoop in. So it's all extra food and it's beneficial to the gardener then as well.
All right, so the ecosystem, I'm liking the sounds, the ecosystem is all kind of working. So, and of course we've also spoken before as well too, it's a nice element for kids and stuff like that. But they won't be buying all this sort of stuff. You know, we want to try and kind of get someone who really kind of wants to bring in the birds, kind of look after them over the winter as well too. So we've got a wide selection of bird feeders to start off with. So let's talk about with the content. So this is a stainless steel one, which obviously would be pretty good for.
It is, because a lot of the feeders, like, you know, if they're not stainless steel, they could rust very easily, and obviously that's bringing infection into the birds then as well, and you have to be careful with that. So the stainless steel one is quite good, or even the plastic ones are good as well.
Yeah.
But I suppose one thing I must say at the start, like when you start to feed birds, it's important to look after their area, the bird feeders, their water, everything like that as well. So say for example that plastic one that you have there, like you don't feed birds a couple of times a day. They usually feed in the morning. So if you even put it out the night before, so when the birds are in dawn, they'll start feeding from there on. So it's very important with your feeders then to keep them clean, right? So every now and again, make sure to take all the seed out of it or the nuts or whatever, give it a good wash, even with, you know, washing up liquid and water, just a tiny drop. You can get disinfectant sprays from veterinaries if you want to as well, just to spray it down eventually.
Right. Because obviously then anything that kind of stays there, it can fester and it could possibly cause any little disease.
It'll cause fungusy, it'll cause disease.
And they won't be coming back very quickly then,
No, they won't. And as you say, it encourages birds to come if there's a fresh supply every day.
Yeah.
So if you feel, you know, there's not a great lot of birds coming, it'll take birds a couple of weeks. You might put this out on your tree or on your bird feeder or whatever, and you'll think, there's no birds coming. Give them time. They have to get used to coming to a place.
Well, I know from watching enough David Attenborough that they're very much all about routines, birds.
Yes.
Like if they know they're going to keep going to the places where they know that there's food. And as that diminishes, they then look for alternatives.
They do.
So if they then come across your garden and say, oh, now, here we go, found some bit of food, all of a sudden they'll kind of keep coming back. And as you said, then it's regular cleaning and feeding, then that will just create that whole environment of
and it is. And like also as well, I know it rains a lot, but you know, there mightn't be enough of puddles or whatever around for the birds to be. So you have.
So we have two little kind of hanging bird bats. Yeah. And I always found that funny. A bird. Why would a bird want to have a bat? Why do they call it a bird bat?
Have you never seen a bird fluttering in water, washing their wings?
Now, in all fairness, I have, and it's lovely. But I normally see it during the summer, not during the winter.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah. And like they're actually quite ornamental as well, and they are frost-proof too.
Okay.
So the frost is not going to crack it or anything like that.
They're good, well-made quality.
They come in different colours. So I mean, they add a little bit of ornamental to your garden then as well.
Yeah.
But again, quite important, if water is lodging in that for a while, you'll get kind of a scummy green in the bottom of it. Give it a wash every week or every couple of days, and that'll do it. So have your water source quite near where you're feeding them as well.
Yeah. And that just complements the whole thing.
It does, really. It does really, and you're kind of the whole lot. Now, with the food then as well, it's important to buy a good quality food if you're buying it.
Right.
I know we have big buckets of peanuts, big buckets of seeds. We've all different sizes of qualities that you want.
Yeah.
Now, what I seem to notice this year is that a lot of them are husk-free, which means the husk would be the outer covering of the seed.
So I guess because then you're talking about the type of complaints people might have had before, where they'd say, "Oh, the whole area, there's all these little bits on the ground." That's what you're talking about. Those little bits, they'd be
because
like
them little bits are causing rodents maybe to come underneath your bird tables or whatever.
Right.
So it's like us if we're eating like a nut or something like that.
Pistachio.
Yeah.
You know, you crack it open.
Exactly.
And it's on the end of peanut.
It's the outer side we're throwing away. The birds do the same. If they're given a nut and the husk is on the outside, they're spitting that out and they're eating the good part of it. So all these are husk-free.
Okay,
so it's actually quite
that'll
good.
Again add to a more cleaner element to your area, which is good.
Now you said it. Like, and a lot of them, like, you either have a protein rich, which is good for their feathers and good for the bird and vitamins, or you have the oil then as well, which is high in energy for the bird.
Okay.
I know we all think of ourselves taking our vitamins and minerals. We're forgetting about the bird.
Yeah.
You know, it has the same. It needs to look after its feathers, its beak, its bones, and everything as well. So it's nice to have the good.
And of course,
selection.
the big bag of peanuts as well too, which
yes, and as I say, we have buckets
I'd end up
and
having a few of those
myself.
myself.
Oh no, definitely don't.
Leftover now we also have these ones. These are the energy balls.
The energy balls, and they're excellent for
really
birds and as well. Now we do have a container to put them into somewhere. This one here. Yeah, that one there. So there's different containers, like say for example this one here, right?
Okay, so that's
definitely for your
seeds. For seeds,
because it won't fall out. The bigger stainless one that you had that's for peanuts.
Okay.
Right. And then this one is for your energy balls.
Oh,
the
so
holes
you see
are bigger in it. They're bigger in it.
Okay.
Now they're easy to hang as well. Birds like a quieter place, so you wouldn't put this outside your back or your front door.
No,
because you're in and out and there's traffic and the birds fly away the minute you're coming. So they're saying about maybe 10, 15 feet away from your dwelling.
Yeah, okay.
And maybe from, if you're near a busy road, come back the other way then a bit as well. So just to place it in the right position then as well.
And of course then behind we have the complete feeding station. You've everything there. You've got the 3 different types.
Yeah, and they're able to come and they're able to perch on this side of it, and then you can have your feeder, your nuts, your energy balls, your peanuts. There's even a little water tray there then as well. So that's actually quite handy if you don't have a huge amount of space.
Imagine sticking that in the middle of a bed. You know what I mean? Or something like that. So it's not on near a patio where you want, like it'll just bring a lovely
and like that then the birds could land on the tree beside it and then they can go and feed, and maybe there's perennials in the bed that might have a few seed heads or flower heads on it. And it gives them a great variation of different foods that they can get as well. And if, as you say, if the soil is there, they can be seen if there's any, anything they can eat down below.
if the ground's not too hard. And just going back to the ecosystem as well too, they spread seed. You know what I mean? They do the birds, they kind of bring away and they can actually spread seed. So any kind of wildflowers and stuff like that, or anything you have in your garden,
very beneficial.
they can do all that as well too. Yeah.
And it's nice, it's lovely for kids to have different birds coming in. You can get the phone, I won't say the camera's probably gone now, but if you had your phones and you can take pictures of them and you can look up then and see what's in your garden. And it's a lovely little project to have over the winter time as well.
And there would be loads of those sort of projects the kids would be doing in school. So
they
it'd be
would.
very interesting.
Yeah, they would, yeah.
Right, well listen, that's great. We've lots of different things for the birds, so it's great to come in. We're always being told we're for the birds, but we literally are this week.
They all know that.
They all know that. So another thing as well, I guess, is maintenance over the winter.
Yes.
Where we have lots of things falling.
Yes.
And if we have them falling, you'll probably need one of these. A good rake.
A good rake, but this is like, there's loads of different types of rake. This is a springtime rake. It's kind of flexible. So you're not going to be tearing, like you'll be leaves fall on the grass, and you don't want to tear the grass out of it. So very
we know
lightly.
The very rigid rake that you would use to
do out your soil and stuff like that.
So this has kind of got a little spring to it. So as you're kind of running it along the grass and along the ground, you're not going to drag up too much.
It's light as well, and it just brings the leaves along. So what do we do with the leaves? They're very valuable in making compost. They are an excellent source of nutrient.
Right.
So if you didn't have an area, you can actually put your leaves in black plastic bin liners.
Okay.
Right? You can put them into that.
Compostable bin liners too.
Yes,
would be good,
exactly.
if you
Would
can
be
get them,
better again. So what you do is you put one hole into it, leave it for a couple of days, and then put a couple of holes into it.
Okay.
And make sure the leaves are moist before it goes in as well. It's like any compost bin; it has to be moist at all times.
For
It'll take about a year now for leaves to break down.
Okay.
There's different types of leaves, but I won't go into that. Like they break down a bit longer than the others. But even if you put them all into a bag, now if you didn't want to be storing bags around the place, you could just make up pallets, or you can get your compost bin.
Yeah.
But sometimes it's better to compost the leaves on their own.
On their own, not
it takes.
so you don't want to put in.
I won't put it in with the rest of it. No.
Food or anything they were kind of putting in, or anything else.
No. Just keep them on their own because they take that little bit longer to break down. But my God, they're fantastic when it does break down. The compost out of that is fantastic.
Brilliant.
So it's like there's plenty of leaves fall.
There'll be plenty in many gardens.
Yeah. Now, while we're talking about trees and stuff like that as well, sometimes this time of the year when the leaves fall off them, it gives you the opportunity to prune them back that little bit.
Okay.
And why I say when the leaves fall off a tree, it's easier to see the framework of the tree. Do you know, people go, sure, I'll do it now, but all you see is branches of leaves and fruit or whatever. So wait till all the leaves fall off and you see the framework. Now, if you're cutting big limbs of trees, say 3-4 inches in width, you need to seal them with this, which is called a prune and seal. Now, this is natural ingredients in it.
Okay.
What that does, it heals up the wound and it stops any bacteria or funguses or anything.
Because obviously that'd be a huge problem then, you're saying it like that. So if you just go at it and you just start hacking and you cut a couple of big branches, what happens then is the bit of moisture gets in, a bit of fungus, and that'll affect you. You could actually do serious damage to the tree.
You could. Now, the idea is when you cut the limb of the tree, you need to put this on straight away.
Straight away.
Because if you go back in a week's time, there's already a seal gone over it, and whatever's gone in has gone in. It's kind of like you cut the branch and then you seal it. Job done.
And would we just, you'd apply with a brush, kind of like a
there's actually the top of it. Can I see now the top of it? This.
Oh, a little sponge on it.
So all you do is squirt it, so you don't need a brush or anything.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah, there's a little thing on the top of it. Now, again, when you're cutting branches, it's very important to use the right tools then as well. So this is what's called the loppers, and you can see that comes out quite wide.
Yes.
Or even if you're using a saw, make sure it's sharp. The less blunt edges you have on the piece of tree left, the better.
Okay,
because
so it's the cleaner the cut.
It's the cleaner the cut, that's exactly it. So we've a great selection of loppers inside in the garden centre and extendable handles and everything. So if you're reaching up high or whatever, we've great secateurs then as well. And there's all different types. Come in here to the garden centre, we'd advise you. There's ratchet ones, which will take that a bit stronger cut then as well. So just to go through, just to say that we have them. Also as well, fruit trees are another thing.
Now, I was just looking at that and you said a tree wash.
A tree wash.
What are we doing here? Are we
I'm
getting
definitely
out the
gone
sponge?
for the birds here.
You're definitely lost it, Trish. You've lost it.
No, the winter wash is used for fruit trees.
Okay.
You might get your scab. You might get your fungus on your leaves. You get spots on your leaves. You might get caterpillars, insects, all these things coming, right?
Okay.
So this actually protects it, and it also, the winter wash protects any green or algae coming on your trees.
Okay.
You might find if you're if the tree is not in full sunlight the whole time, it might get kind of green and mossy.
Yeah.
And how to get rid of that is to put your winter wash on it.
Okay.
Now, the most important thing with winter washes is that you can't put it on until the tree is completely dormant. And when I mean dormant, it means that it's stopped growing. The leaves have fallen off it, the buds are dormant, everything is dormant. So you're talking about December, January, maybe November, depending on the weather. If you get a mild autumn, leave it. But if you're unsure, is it okay to put it on? Just ask us here. We'll tell you. Yeah, it's fine. You can put it on now. So you put that on with a sprayer and just all over the tree.
And we're talking about your apple trees.
Your apple trees, your pear trees, your plum trees, your cherry trees, all of these. Yeah. Now, even if you had an ornamental tree and you find that it's kind of going green, you could put this on it then as well.
Okay.
But again, dormancy as well.
Yeah. Okay. And is there a shampoo and conditioner to go with that?
No, afraid not. Just that now, the winter one.
Sorry, I couldn't resist it.
I'm really looking after the plants for the winter. And this one then is a glue band, right? What it is like a band that goes around the trunk of the tree, so it stops any crawling insects going up into the tree and hibernating there for the winter. And then they're laying their eggs next spring. And that's where your problem starts.
And what sort of things? Well, now, let's get into the creepy crawly details. What are we
right,
talking
you're
about?
talking about
the ones that would do damage now.
You're talking about ants, caterpillars, earwigs, all that type of thing. And any crawling insect that might get into your apple, your plums, or whatever.
Okay.
And that stops them then from coming up. So it's a glue band. It's no harm to the tree or anything like that.
Will they get stuck or will they just slide? They won't go
they
past
just
it?
can't go past it.
Can't
go past it.
Yeah, it's like the one with the slugs we had before. That was good.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Now, of course, another thing as well is very important over the winter time is to keep an eye on staking your trees. Obviously, you'll get winds; they'll rock the trees. Check your tree tie is very, very important. If it's too tight, it'll actually
do damage to the tree.
It'll do damage to the tree. It'll go into it. Or if it's too loose, then what's happening is that the tree is rubbing against the stake. And that's no good for it.
And that'll still wear.
Exactly, it'll still wear. So just
so
go
if
around.
anyone who's basically planted any sort of kind of shrubs or young trees and are in an area where you're going to get a lot of wind.
Yes, yeah. Just keep a regular check over the winter. It only take 2 seconds just as you're passing by to check it, just to keep that in mind. And of course, when we're out in the garden, we've got very stylish ankle boots.
I tell you what, I was wondering, were they in my size, Trish? They're lovely.
No, I just brought them inside. And then for my lovely hands, protection like that there as well. You know, it doesn't let the wet in as such.
Okay.
And there's loads of different types of
lots
gloves
of different
inside.
gloves. So if you do
and
still
different
need to
colours,
go out
whatever takes your fancy.
To go out and get it down and dirty, because as the weather does get it, it's the winter time. You think it's not a good time to kind of go out in the garden, but there's still lots of things you can do, lots of enjoyment you can get out of it.
Exactly.
And as you said, you know, if you're looking after stuff, get the right compost and have your garden well manicured and stuff like that, you'll reap the benefits.
Oh, you will. And
line.
even your furniture now and your barbecues, make sure to cover them over. Bring in your furniture. If you do get a couple of dry days, even if you get the chance to paint them, they're done then for next year.
That's it.
Do you know, that sort of way. But make sure to store them properly.
Protect them.
Do you know, because once the rain starts, sometimes we nearly forget that the set of furniture is out in the patio.
I know. It's like the last barbecue I did was in July and I haven't washed it since. There's all that sort of stuff.
All that sort. So just to clean up. The same with the lawnmower. Once you're finished mowing the lawn, get your lawnmower serviced for next year.
Yeah.
Do it now and drain the petrol out of it. It doesn't do the engine any good. So drain the petrol out of it, get it serviced, get the blades sharpened, so that when you start again next year, you're going, oh God, I must do all that. And of course, the lawnmower shop then is full of people in with the lawnmowers. It's just to keep an eye on them.
So that brings our season to an end here at Boyles of Killorglin. It's the last garden show of the season, and we will, of course, hopefully be back in the springtime. Trish, thank you so much for all your great advice over the year.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
No, absolutely. It wouldn't have been a show without you, really, in all, Trish, in all fairness. Listen, thank you to you for listening every week on Radio Kerry, and of course you can watch the shows on Facebook and YouTube, of course. They'll all be up there, and we'll be back again at it next spring here on Radio Kerry. So from myself, Trish, and Dave, who's been great on camera work all this season, we will talk to you in the spring. Have a good one, see you in the new year, and happy gardening.